Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Hina and this is Mango. I'm here with the second part of my big ass 2025 book haul. So let's dive right in. Let's be cool. So let's begin. The first three books that I have here are by the same author, H.P. Lovecraft. Of course, my favorite author, bigger horror writer. H.P. Lovecraft is like God for me. I have obviously read all his books, but there are a couple of stories that I would obviously like to go over again, and so it's always better to have the physical books of his stories. I already have a very big fat book of H.P. Lovecraft's collection, but I really like the collection of these. I'll tell you the titles of these. First is Call of Cthulhu and Other Short Stories. The second one is At the Mountains of Madness and Other Stories. And the third one is Stories of the Dreamlands. These are the three books of H.P. Lovecraft that I got. The next book is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This book is about unrequited love, self-identity, and many more things. It is about a young woman who tries to take her own life. I've actually just started reading this one. I'm on, I think, page 5th. Second page of the first chapter, but still I've started reading it. I'm gonna keep you updated on how this one goes, though I'm pretty sure this one's gonna be very good, although I do have an idea that this one is a pretty heavy read, so I'm just gonna go very slow with this one because I tend to get overwhelmed if a book is heavy and intense.
Before I move on to the next book in this haul, I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about one book that genuinely deserves a proper mention here. And this part of the video is sponsored, but very, very honest. This is Filaments by KZK. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you know I don't casually recommend horror. I'm quite picky about it because I also write horror. And this one completely surprised me. Filaments is an eco-horror novel, but not the jump scare or slasher kind of horror. This is a slow burn, atmospheric, biological horror, the kind that quietly creeps in and stays with you. The story follows Thea, who is dealing with her mother's mysterious death, and as she searches for answers, the natural world around her, the forest, the bog, and the soil itself begins to feel wrong. Very wrong. The horror here is rooted in mycelium, fungal networks, and the idea that nature remembers everything. What I really loved about this book is that the horror is never just there for shock value. The body horror, when it appears, is extremely purposeful. It's tied to grief, inheritance, control, and autonomy. There's also a strong emotional core, especially around the female relationships, which honestly took this book to an entirely different level for me. And far beyond just being a scary book. And don't worry, this isn't gory for the sake of being gory. It's unsettling, yes, but beautifully written and incredibly immersive. The setting feels alive, almost like another character in the book. This ended up being a 5 out of 5 star read for me, which doesn't happen very often. If you enjoy eco-horror, fungal or biological horror, or atmospheric stories that linger long after you finish reading them, this is absolutely worth picking up. Thank you so much to author KZK for sponsoring this portion of the video and for trusting me with this story. I'll leave the link to Filaments in the description box below if you want to check it out. If you trust my opinion, you must check it out. Alright, now let's get back to the rest of the books in this haul.
The next book is On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. Okay, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. So this book is just so pretty. Just let's take a second to admire the red edges of this book. I mean, it is just so pretty, and from the inside it's of course red. It is a beautiful hardback book and I'm just very happy to have it on my shelf. Although this book is excellent, kind of a letter from a son to his mother who cannot read, and then we have a third character who reads the letter or the letters to the mother. So it is, of course, going to be extremely emotional. But I've heard such good praise for this book on the internet that I'm extremely excited to read this one. The next one that I have here is There Are Rivers in the Sky by Elif Shafak. Elif Shafak is one of the best writers of 21st century, and I think it's a pity if someone has not read her book, if especially women. I would implore everyone to read Elif Shafak's book. I am a huge fan of hers. I am a huge fan of her thinking, her thoughts, her beliefs, her speeches, her discussions, and so I decided I had to read her books. So I got this one, and I also actually have another book by Elif Shafak, but I wanted to talk about it with another book. So anyway, this is There Are Rivers in the Sky by Elif Shafak. There are 3 point of views in this book, and they are from different eras and from different continents and from different places altogether, and different social conditions, economic conditions. And this is a very extremely narratively rich book, and I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Then the next book that I have here is We Do Not Part by Han Kang. Now, this is another one of the books that I got after reading about it on the online book community. I follow a lot of bookstagrammers, booktubers, and book talkers, and I absolutely love when all of them talk about one particular book, and I always make it a point to get that book when everyone's talking about some books. So this is one of those books, and I really love the cover of this book. Aesthetically, it's extremely pleasing, and from the inside also, it's quite beautiful. Just look at that, gold on white. I mean, as someone from the publishing industry, I love beautiful books, and this is just one of those books that I would have anyway gotten. And of course, the author is a Nobel Prize winner, so this book is one of those that I'm really looking forward to, especially because this book is about the main characters who has to travel from Seoul to the Jeju Islands, and those are the 2 places that me and my husband are planning to visit. So I was quite intrigued by the idea of reading about South Korea. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one as well. The next book that I have here is Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. Now, this book has been really talked about a lot over the last year, and I was really looking forward to reading this one because it's a thriller, and it's actually based on a real life case of a serial killer. It has a beautiful cover, it has a beautiful blur, and I'm really excited to get into this one. The next book that I have here is a particularly interesting read. It is Bad Eater by Lee Baker. So in this book, the main character is actually a crime scene cleaner, and she herself had witnessed a very gruesome crime of her own sister being thrown in front of a train, and the protagonist is haunted by the last words of the serial killer before he vanishes, of the killer who vanishes in thin air after he utters the words Bat Eater. And so the blurb itself is just so intriguing that I really cannot wait to get into this one. All the books here are a result of my own curiosity, and I really wanted to get into all of these. That's why I've gotten them. That's why I got them. And now that I have all of them in front of me, I am literally not able to decide which one to read first. Maybe this one. I have no idea what I'm gonna read next, but it's going to be a fun year. This I can tell you. Anyway, so moving on. The next book is by one of my really favorite authors. So this is The Life Impossible by Matt Haig, the author of Midnight Library. I love how Matt Haig depicts mental health, mental illness in his novels using symbolisms and literary narrative, and weaves these beautiful, amazing, multi-layered stories with excellently developed characters. And so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I think, if I'm not wrong, then this book is about a maths teacher who inherits a rundown place, fixer upper place, after the sudden death of her friend, and then she has to confront her past and the passing away of her friend. So I'm sure this book has some really heavy themes like grief and loneliness. I'm still really looking forward to reading this one. What else can I say? Okay, so let's get to the next pile of books. I think I need to take a little break. So I'm back from the break and let's dive into the next pile. The next book is something almost everyone has watched the adaptation of. The Exorcist. Of course, being a horror fan and a horror writer, I had to get this one. I believe I haven't yet read this book, but I'm gonna rectify that as soon as possible. The next two books are by the same author, Gabriel Zevin's Tomorrow, 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 and The Storied Life of H.F. Vickery. These two books, again, author Gabriel Zevin has been one of the most talked about authors in the last couple of months, and so of course I had to get Tomorrow, Tomorrow, Tomorrow. I had a plan to read it in January, but because of my other books, I just wasn't able to. So now I'm planning to read this. It's about friendship, it's about love, but it's not a romance book. It's actually a sci fi book. It's about video games. And so I'm really excited to read it. The other one, however, is about a librarian, and that's about all I know. So I'm really excited to see what this one has. The next three books are by one of my all-time favorite authors, Frederick Buckman. So, if you followed my Instagram posts and stories, then you might know that I've already listened to Anxious People's audiobook, but I wanted to reread the book and I wanted to take some notes from it. So that's why I got the paperback. So, Anxious People is actually being turned into a Netflix series now. So, all the more reason to read it again. Now, the other two books are Britt Marie Was Here and A Man Called Otto. I've watched the movie, I haven't read this book, so that's why I got this one. And this is just something they had. And I was actually kind of on a reading spree of Frederick Buckman. And so I had read Road Back Home Keeps on Getting Longer and Longer, something like that. But I was not able to get my hands on this particular book, this particular title on Audible. I think it was either because it was too expensive for the length of the novel, or it was just not available. Either of the two. So when I found the paperback of this in my local bookstore, Crossword, I got this. So these are the three books by Frederick Buckman that I got. Next one is The Maid's Secret. Now, I have a confession here. I bought this book by mistake. I just saw the title and my mind just went to The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. But I just made such a hasty decision of buying this one that I actually thought this was one of the books in the Housemaid series, and so I bought this one. I'm not sure if I'm going to be reading this one anytime soon, but it seems like a nice mystery, more like a cozy mystery. And I'm not a very big cozy mystery fan. I love hard boiled mysteries, not cozy mysteries. So I'm gonna see. Maybe I'm just gonna keep this one for one of my. I'm actually not even sure if I'm gonna read this, but Lucy Foley definitely thinks it's a good book. I don't mind giving it a try. Actually, the thought of reading a cozy mystery, again, my pile just fell off. I mean, what the hell is wrong with me? So anyway, so yeah, I'm not very sure if I'm even gonna read this one anytime soon, especially when I have so many other books that I need to go through first. So just sit on my TRB pile and I simply just don't read them. Oh my god, you know what? I'll sort it out later on. Going on to the next book, Where the Crawdads Sing. I have the ebook of this book, and for the life of me, I cannot remember why I did not read it. And so in the bookstore, when I saw this one, I just kind of fell on it because I was getting it for a very good price actually. So I got this one. It's about the marsh girl. I'm sure most of the people have already read this one, so I'm just kind of behind in catching up with the yearly bestsellers. And this was, I think it was either in the last year's bestsellers list or in the year before that. I am not quite sure, but it was on the bestsellers list, and it was on my TBR, and it was on my Kindle as well. But now I have the paperback, so I'm going to be reading this one. The next book is Almond by Won Young John or Song. I have no, but I give up pronouncing the names of East Asian authors. Anyway, so Almond is about a boy who's born with some brain condition, and he's been taken care of by his mother and grandmother. Okay, so these are too many books for one video, and all the books are just falling down again and again. So I'm gonna take it as a sign, and I'm gonna do another part of this video sometime soon, probably at the end of this week. So I'm gonna be doing a part 3 as well. And you know what? I'm just gonna give you a glimpse of what you're gonna see in part 3. There are really amazing novels for part 3. See. Okay, so these are not the only ones. Oh my god, the books just fell on my lap. Okay, so these are not just the only one. I actually have an entirely different pile of books. See, and it's literally just crazy how. Okay, so I think I've just bought too many books, and again they fell. Okay, so I'm just gonna do one more part of this book haul. So we are gonna have a total of 3 parts for this book haul. I'll see you all in my next video.